this one question, who do you think you are, essentially meant this person was trying to shame me. They were trying to shame me for my decisions, for seeing my worth. A few years ago, when I was working as a language coach, I had this moment that could have altered the entire trajectory of my career. See, I have been in the language industry for about a decade. I started when I was 16, and if you go and you look at my name on Google, you will find a lot of things related to language learning, about psychology of languages, and everything attached to my name. So, after I had been working with a number of clients and developing my holistic approach, I realized that there was real value to what I was doing, and it was really transforming the way that people saw language learning. And one day I received this message from a fellow colleague of mine, somebody who was a teacher in the language industry as well. After I'd raised my prices and they had found out how much I was charging, they sent me a really long message saying, essentially, who do you think you are? Chastising me. How dare I put value to my work and rise above the industry standards? And if any of you know of how much teachers in general charge and how much they get paid, which is a whole story in itself, then you know it's not a lot. And so this one question, who do you think you are, essentially meant this person was trying to shame me. They were trying to shame me for my decisions, for seeing my worth. And it was at that point that I was at a crossroads. I could have taken that shame, but instead I actually used it as power to keep producing content, to keep producing services and establish myself as a coach, to now also work with language teachers, because I saw the opportunity from that one question, who do I think I am? And so this attempt to shame me that I could have used, that could have spiraled into something completely detrimental and destructive, I used to empower myself. How was I able to do that? What made me choose that path instead of falling into the other one? That's what I want to talk to you today about. I want to talk to you about shame, how to cross the bridge of shame. Because at some point in your life, you're going to be faced with that. And you don't want to be stuck in that one place. And see, I'm going to share with you as well my 5-step process that I'm going to show you here on my board about how to cross that bridge and not stay stuck there. And before we do that, and before I share, the magical 5 steps that everybody's waiting for, we're going to talk about what is the real problem with shame. If you've ever heard yourself say, I am my own worst critic, that's self-criticism. That fear of being judged, just like with the story I just told you, I could have kept on listening to that and stayed stuck if I listened to that fear of being criticized by my colleague and others in the language industry, which I faced a lot of, by the way. And that attempt to be perfect, to try and please everyone. Perfectionism is a whole other big problem if we stay in shame. And who am I to talk to you about this? Not only have I experienced shame in my professional life, but I've also been that person who has been my worst critic and who has been stuck in a dialogue of shame for a very long time. I've also done a number of research and done extensive research on this topic about shame and exploring the latest things on how to overcome it and on some other topics around it that I'm going to go into today. And so, how do we cross that bridge? It's inevitable that we're going to face that shame, but we can't stay stuck there. And that's why I want to take you through this 5-step process that I call S.H.A.R.E. And these 5 points are going to help you to cross that bridge, to go from being stuck to experiencing benefits, like having confidence in yourself and in your work, which means that you're going to be able to be more connected to who you are and be more connected to your clients. And it's also going to mean that of the 1.5 million language educators that exist in this world and other educators and entrepreneurs, you're going to be able to stand out and be able to innovate your products and services and everything that you do. So let's dive into the 5 steps of how we can cross this bridge of shame. So the first step the S is show vulnerability. So vulnerability is such a powerful tool. And if you've been following me on Instagram, you'll see that I've been diving into this topic about shame and especially about vulnerability for the last 2 weeks. So if you haven't checked out that content, please do go look at it. But vulnerability is really, in short, this ability to lean into discomfort, to be able to tap into what we're feeling and express that, even if it feels risky, even if it feels uncertain. There's got to be those two elements of uncertainty and of risk. And when we show vulnerability, we're able to actually connect deeper to who we are. And especially if you feel that kind of imposter feeling that comes up in your work in particular, then it might be because you haven't allowed yourself to be vulnerable. And it's such a big tool, because part of vulnerability is really just understanding that you are human and that there is no right or wrong about what you feel. And especially when it comes to, connecting with your clients, I found that in allowing myself to know that I don't know everything, that I'm not perfect, it's given me so much grace and this ability to just face my shame head on. Now the next step is harness self-compassion. Now, I went into detail about self-compassion, right, in my recent posts. And self-compassion really has 3 components to it. There's one about kindness, in treating yourself as though you are your own best friend. If there's anything that you wouldn't say to your best friends, to your family, why would you say it to yourself? The other thing is about shared humanity. It's understanding that we are all in this universal experience together. Therefore, everything that you are experiencing, you are not alone, even though sometimes our mind tricks us into thinking we are, right? And thinking that, oh, it's just me, I'm the only person experiencing this, but you're not. And the third key thing about self-compassion is mindfulness. In being mindful of what is actually going on in your inner world. What is coming up for you? What are you feeling? And not judging that. That's the biggest thing. Being kind, understanding that shared humanity, and not judging yourself. And the other thing about self-compassion is there's actually a really great self-compassion scale. It's a test that you can do by Kristen Neff that allows you to see, like, where are you in terms of your self-compassion. Now, the next step, A, accept your imperfections. A lot of the time, especially in the society we grow up in and that we live in, right? Everything, every single day is telling us that we are not good enough. How many times have we looked at an image on social media, or we've looked into a magazine, or we've seen an advertisement for some sort of either beauty product, weight loss product, gym, you name it, telling us that how you are is not good enough. And let me tell you, especially in business, one of the biggest realizations that came that, wow, it's actually my imperfections that make me valuable in this world, came from a video that I shared on YouTube. Years ago, I think it was probably the second video I ever posted about my German learning journey. And I did the whole video in German. And even years later, I had clients who started working with me who came from that video. When I asked them, what made you choose me as a teacher? A lot of them said, it's because I saw that video of you sharing how you learned German. And it made me realize that if she can do it and she can become a teacher to speak at that level, I can do it too. So I realized that it was my imperfections, the mistakes that I made in that video, how I showed up trembling and all, that made me a powerful teacher, because my students could identify themselves with me. Now the next point is reframing failure. If there is one thing that is guaranteed in this life, is that we're gonna fail at something. Especially as entrepreneurs, if we're creating something from our imagination, we're following a dream that we have, then it's guaranteed that at some point in our journey, something is not going to work out the way it should. And the big thing I want to say here is you're allowed to feel whatever comes to you when we fail. It's completely normal. But it's not something to be ashamed of. And how we can confront any of those oncoming feelings, those waves of, oh my goodness, this means that I'm a failure, this means that I'm not good enough as a person, is by looking at the opportunity in those failures. Now, pass through whatever you need to pass through. Trust me, like I cry all the time when something doesn't go my way, when I've put my heart and soul into it for weeks, or things that I've really, really connected to. But I always realize immediately after, wow, I learned something really magnificent. This was trying to teach me something powerful. So finding the lesson in any failure, and that's how you're going to be able to grow and cross that bridge from being stuck, from shame, into feeling empowered. And the final step of our acronym S.H.A.R.E is our E. Embrace authenticity. Authenticity, I have to point out here, is something that we often actually can misconstrue its meaning. Now, one of the greatest comments I have received in my time as a coach on YouTube, in sharing content on Instagram, has been, Lena, I love your authenticity. Everything you share is so authentic. I feel really connected to you because of your authenticity. And the funny thing is, actually, is that authenticity has nothing to do with anybody else except for you and your inner truth. You can only be authentic inwards. It's an inwardly experience in knowing that I am abiding by my values right now. I am being authentic because I am sharing my truth. I am being honest. It's not actually something that anybody else can judge. It's nice to receive those comments, right? Of, I love your authenticity. But I think what people are actually saying there is, I love your vulnerability. I'm connecting to your vulnerability. See, vulnerability is the external. It's how we show up to other people and whether they can connect with us because we're sharing something uncertain. Whereas authenticity purely is an experience that you can know for yourself if you are being authentic. So embrace your authenticity. And it's hard. It's not really easy. But only you can know what you value. And when you show up in the world and you make decisions that are in alignment with your values, that are in alignment with, like, question again, who do you think you are? Then that's how you will be able to also cross that bridge of shame. Because at the end of the day, understanding your values and understanding yourself is really the biggest key, right? And we're going to face shame in so many different ways, in many unexpected ways even. You know, shame pops up even in how we eat, the food that we choose. How many times have you gone to a restaurant and chosen to eat a meal because it's what everybody else was eating, not what you really wanted? It shows up in how you parent. It shows up in how you are as a friend, in so many decisions that you make. And so that's why it's really crucial to understand what you value. And if you don't yet know, then please check out the link that I have to the free values worksheet, where we go into detail and you can explore what are your top values to understand yourself deeper. Because all of this, being able to cross the bridge of shame, is what's going to help you to really, again, embrace your most confident self. To show up in your business, to show up in your life, and feel connected to who you are. It's going to enhance your connections to other people, and it's going to allow you to be innovative, to come up with new ideas or a new expression of ideas that is an expression of who you are. And it's important as well to bring these things that keep us ashamed to light. And you can do that with all of these steps. because those are the things that really keep us stuck, keep us feeling like we're not good enough, and that's not serving anybody, especially not you. So I just walked you through those 5 steps. The acronym S.H.A.R.E is what you've got to remember. S.H.A.R.E, S.H.A.R E. Show vulnerability, harness self-compassion, accept imperfections, reframe failure, and embrace authenticity. I shared with you my own personal journey, and that one question of who do you think you are is what I want you to keep in mind whenever you are faced with whether it's criticism or potential judgment from other people or yourself. Because in many ways, we don't even realize that we carry a lot of shame that has been implied upon us, that our own self-talk can be our biggest enemy. And so, asking yourself that question whenever you're faced with a decision, who do I think I am? And choose the greatest, freest version of yourself. So, thank you for watching this training. If there's anything that you would like to explore in detail with me, just let me know. And any tools that I've mentioned are going to be linked below. But remember, be kind, be you, and be blessed. And I'll see you very soon. If you want to explore this topic deeper and gain more insight on how you can actually apply everything I've talked about to your life, then check out my latest blog, S.H.A.R.E, the 5 Steps to Overcoming Shame, which you can find by clicking the link here. It goes into even more detail of everything I've talked about, plus it's going to help you actually understand how shame shows up in your life and how you can apply these steps that I've talked about. So go and click the link up here, check out the blog, and do let me know how you found it.